a really private, painful family moment end up becoming this huge flashpoint for a massive debate online? Well, that's exactly what happened here. A single video capturing a mother's heartbreak kicked off the conversation that goes way beyond one family, touching on faith, relationships, and what some people are now calling a major cultural crisis. So let's get into it and unpack how this all happened. Just listen to those words. I feel like I'm such a failure. That is the gut wrenching thing a mother said the second she found out about her daughter's secret online life. And that line right there, it cuts right to the absolute core of this whole story.
Okay, so to really understand the bigger picture here, we have to start with the personal story that basically set the internet on fire. This isn't just about some random viral video, it's about a really personal family crisis that pretty unexpectedly ended up playing out for millions and millions of people to see. So, the daughter at the center of all of this is a woman named Aisha Sophie. She's 23, she's an influencer from French Canada, and she has a huge following. We're talking over 1.7 million people on Instagram. She's also a content creator on OnlyFans. Now, according to the source material we're looking at, her online career was a total secret from her family. That is, until her brother decided to, in the commentator's words, rat her out. He showed their devoutly Christian mother Aisha's photos, and, well, the confrontation that followed was all recorded. And that video, showing the mom's just raw, unfiltered pain and disbelief, it just exploded online. It clearly struck a nerve with millions of people. But the commentator that we're examining argues that this whole viral moment isn't just some isolated incident. Nope, they see it as a symptom of a much, much deeper societal trend. And this is where things get really interesting. The commentator connects this whole viral story to a really strange contradiction happening in our culture right now. It's this phenomenon that just seems to defy all logic, and researchers have actually given it a name: the sex recession. And this slide lays out the paradox perfectly. On one hand, you've got technology that's made us feel more connected than we have ever been, right? Seemingly endless access to people. But on the other hand, all the data shows that people, especially young people, are actually having less sex, they're delaying marriage, and they're having fewer kids. So, what is going on here? Yep, this trend has a name. It's been dubbed the sex recession. It's this documented decline in real-world sexual activity and, family formation that has researchers and cultural commentators just scratching their heads asking why? Why is this happening? But wait, here's the other side of that coin. While real-world intimacy might be going down, the source argues that what it calls illegitimate digital sex is just exploding. Get this. Online pornography traffic is bigger than Amazon, Netflix, and Twitter combined. And OnlyFans? It's become a multi-billion-dollar industry reportedly fueled in large part by married men. So we've got this really weird situation. Less real intimacy, way more digital consumption. How do you explain it? Well, the commentator from our source proposes a single, and you could say controversial, explanation that they believe ties everything together. Amid all the discussion around that viral video, one question kept popping up, and it's one the source says is the absolute key to this whole situation. Where is the father in this equation? And if we circle back to Aisha Sophie's story, the source points out that her parents are separated. Her father isn't a present figure in the family home, and for this commentator, that is not a coincidence. They believe it's the root cause of everything. The source argues this is a predictable cycle, like a direct chain of events. It starts with an absent father, which leads to a broken home, which in turn leads to what the source calls broken children, who might then go on to seek validation in all the wrong places. And to back this claim up, the source points to some data on how faith gets passed down in families. It highlights a study that shows when a father is the first one to commit to his Christian faith, the rest of the family follows him 93% of the time. 93%! But if the mother leads first, that rate drops all the way down to just 17%. For the commentator, this is powerful proof of the father's central spiritual role. All right, so if the source thinks it's identified the problem, what's the solution? Well, this is where the argument pivots, and it calls for a return to a very specific model of family and spiritual leadership. The model presented by the source is what it calls the biblical ideal. It's a clear spiritual hierarchy. You've got Christ at the head, followed by the husband, then the wife, and then the children. The argument is that when this structure is in place and it's working the way it's supposed to, the family is spiritually protected and in order.
To really hammer this point home, the source quotes the theologian Derek Prince, who claimed that the single biggest need in the country is for men to step up and be real fathers. He argued that nothing, not even a wonderful mother, can be a substitute for that role.
Now, to be super clear, the source is careful to define what this leadership is supposed to look like. It's not about toxic masculinity or framed as servant leadership, a model where the father leads by loving, protecting, and caring for his family, basically following the example set by Christ. And that brings us to the end, right where the source's entire argument leads. It draws this straight line from a viral video of a mother's pain through a huge society wide sex recession and brings it all back to one central figure. From this point of view, it leaves us with a really provocative and you could say profound question. In this age of fractured families and digital everything, is the father the key to it all?